545 54321. Okay. Good morning, Alan Harris here. We're giving an update at the Geneva Command Post out near Lake Harney. One of the reasons we chose out here is the water is continuing to rise along the St. Johns River in Lake Harney. Yesterday we closed State Road 46. This is a major thoroughfare between Seminole County and Volusia County. The reason for that closure is, again, Lake Harney is continuing to rise and forecasted to rise even further. This is beyond the water levels that we saw that were historic in 2008 during Tropical Storm Faye. Our forecast models showed that it will continue to rise even more over the next couple days. The unique thing about this particular area is that it floods over time much slower, so the flash flooding is not forecasted for here, but a slow rise is expected. FEMA individual assistance for residents has been declared here in Seminole County, which means that you can get assistance if necessary. You can do this by calling 1-800-621-FEMA or going to the FEMA.gov website. Right now, over 1,900 residents have been damaged, either minor all the way to totally destroyed. Additional residents, unfortunately, will be damaged as these waters continue to rise. Seminole County right now is working with FEMA to establish a disaster recovery center. This center will be a location where individuals can go to register for FEMA assistance or other types of services. This will be a one-stop shop, and we will be posting it as soon as our partners with FEMA and the state identify a viable location. Many of the locations that we had previously planned to use, unfortunately, were damaged due to the rising waters of this historic event. Seminole County government remains closed today. Our libraries will remain closed through the weekends. Our parks are closed. Some parks will be open, but there will be no staffing at those parks. Some trails are open, but please be careful on the trails, as some of these have storm damage and debris on them and may be impassable. Animal services will also be closed today, but is available by appointment only for if you have a lost pet. If you have a lost pet and would like to see if the animal is in the shelter, please call our Animal Services Department and make an appointment. We will also make appointments if you're interested in adopting an animal, and you can go to our website and see if there's any animals that you wish to adopt. We have all those animals listed there. We are consolidating our shelters again down to one shelter. We want to thank our partners at Northland Church in Longwood. This will be our shelter, and we're in the process right now of moving all of our remaining shelter clients to this facility. All of the other shelters will be closed in preparation for school reopening. We are working closely with our power providers with the goal that we will open schools on Monday. There are 10 schools right now remaining without power, but each of those schools have electrical contractors from Duke and FPL working to get those energized. Once those are energized, the school system will go in and we will open the schools. Please monitor the Seminole County Public School website and social media for updates. There will be an update posted by the school board tonight at 7 p.m. Just spoke to the superintendent a few moments ago, and she's going to make sure that happens. For power updates, Duke reports 90% of the power loss in Seminole County will be repaired by tomorrow evening. FPL reports that 95% will be completed by Tuesday at midnight. So this again is a little bit of a couple days more of power loss for some individuals. As waters continues to rise in certain areas and has crested in certain areas but slowly going down, we've added additional sandbag locations for your convenience. We have sandbag locations at Westmont Park in Altamont Springs, Wayside Park in Sanford, Evans Street Public Works Facility in Oviedo, and the old Geneva Volunteer Fire Station here in the community of Geneva. Volunteer groups and faith organizations have mobilized to meet unmet needs in our community. These faith-based groups and nonprofit organizations that have been affiliated with us in previous storms have come back again to help our residents, neighbors helping neighbors. Today they will be out on the road helping our special needs, our seniors, those persons with disabilities that cannot go out and do land clearing, tarping of roofs, debris sorting, and minor home repairs. I want to thank every volunteer and faith organization that is out there today giving of their time to help these individuals. Water is available now at the Winter Springs High School. This is a drive-through distribution center for anyone that is under a boil water notice or anyone that needs water. We are providing one bag per car, again, drive-through distribution center only. We are also putting other water services out into the community, and those will be announced as they are placed in those communities. For example, Geneva and Chuliota. While regularly scheduled trash collection begins on Monday, storm debris collection may not begin until mid next week. So you may see a garbage truck come through and they may leave the debris there. The debris contractors are in place. They're getting prepped for launch midweek. Please be patient. We'll provide updates on our social media sites and on our websites as those debris contractors start to move into the field. Please remember, debris should be sorted. This helps us move through our community faster. Please do not bag your debris. Please avoid sidewalks. Remember, schools, again, are planning to reopen on Monday. These sidewalks are necessary for children to get safely to their bus stops. We do not want them to have to go onto roadways that are dark, that may be dangerous to get to their bus stops. We want them to be able to use the sidewalks effectively to get to their bus stops. When placing debris, also remember fire hydrants. Please avoid those. Mailboxes, anything that will make it more challenging for the debris contractor to pick up the debris. Also, as you place your debris, look for power poles and power lines above, and if you can avoid those at all costs, we ask that you do that. Again, this just helps us, neighbors helping neighbors. It helps us identify where we can expedite debris. With that, I'd like to turn it over to the Fire Chief, Chief Kinley, for additional comments. Chief?
Thank you, Alan. Good afternoon. First, I would just like everybody to take a look at the men behind us that just returned from effecting some rescues out in the Geneva area. Definite heroes, and we'll continue to do that through this event. At 8 a.m. today, we stood up this Unified Command Center with the Seminole County Sheriff's Office and the Army National Guard, along with the Seminole County Fire Department. We're standing at our command post location at the First United Methodist Church in Geneva. First off, on behalf of the Seminole County Fire Department, and Seminole County, I would like to thank Pastor Joseph Okella and his congregation, who have graciously allowed us to use their property for this mission and the use of their fellowship hall. That's very needed. From the fire department, our deployed assets will be 3 firefighters to help aid 3 National Guard 6x6 vehicles, a boat, as well as a battalion chief, a chief's aide, and a drone team, along with a planning coordinator. Up the road at Station 42, which is well known out here in Geneva, we also are equipped with a fire engine, a rescue, a tanker, a 6x6, and an airboat, which happens to be behind us, Airboat 42, which was named by the Geneva Elementary School. It's the Fire Falcon. Sheriff Lima can speak to the Sheriff's Office deployed assets that are here. We have established this unified command post as we know that the flood waters are imminent, with water flowing from the south to the St. Johns River and into the Lake Harney and a little in Big Econ. The people in Geneva are some of the kindest and most hardworking people in Seminole County. They will give you their shirt off their back, and they're very proud to live here, and sometimes a little too proud when it comes to these necessary times. Many of our best firefighters were born and raised here. Our Fire Department Assistant Chief Becky Ward was born here in Geneva and helped coordinate this effort. Many Geneva residents have lived here all their lives and for many generations. Our battalion chief running this operation told me that at Snow Hill the flooding surpassed the 100-year flood marker, and everyone in this area said this is the highest flood that they have ever seen. We want the people in Geneva to know that they should take the flood warning seriously. If they are in low-lying areas, stay with your neighbors or seek shelter. If you are not evacuating, be prepared for us to rescue you when we can. Have all your medications, important documents in a to-go bag, as we expect evacuations to be not if, but when. We stand ready to help you, but need your help in doing so and strongly encourage evacuating if you're told to do so. Property can be replaced, people cannot. Please check in with your neighbors, especially seniors and those of the most vulnerable, and make sure they have what they need to evacuate. In 2017, during Hurricane Irma, our fire department had to rescue numerous residents in the Lake Harney area because they chose not to evacuate. We want to keep evacuations to a minimum for the safety of our residents and our first responders. We've established the unified command post like in the past, after hurricanes, localized flooding, brush fires, and other emergencies. We always come here. We have a long-standing commitment with our response partners, and as always, appreciate their partnership. This is why we work and train together, and you will see in times of crisis, this training and collaboration pays off in serving the citizens of Seminole County. Now I'd like to turn it over to Sheriff Dennis Lima.
Thank you, Chief, and good morning, everyone. You've heard from Alan Harris. You've now heard from Chief Kenley, and you'll hear from myself to emphasize the importance of collaboration here. And I think that is what you've seen here, not only with the first responders, but with our great partners with the National Guard, who have just been doing remarkable work. It's not lost on us for a moment that these are individuals who have full-time assignments, full-time careers, and then volunteer for additional deployments. So I want to thank our partners with the National Guard. I also want to thank our citizens who have been working to make sure that we rebuild as a community. I've said this many times, not only during this storm, but previous storms that we've experienced in the past. Our community heal when neighbor helps neighbor. And the Geneva community has a lot of experience and a lot of history with that. The message on the roads is bring your patience when you're out there on the roads. While debris is being cleared from certain areas of the county, it is still incredibly dangerous to drive in other areas. As we're going on some back streets, we're still seeing low-lying cables. I only think for a moment if somebody was driving a motorcycle, especially at nighttime, there's no way somebody could see that. Now, our power company and our partners at Public Works are working hard to get all of those hazards cleared up. But again, bring your patience and be alert and aware and be very cautious of where you're driving. The flooding. You know, we talked about it time and time, and at the initial part of the storm, we said here in Seminole County we experience significant problems after the storm. And part of the reason that occurs is as the St. Johns River is flowing north, all of the runoff and the water that is shifting and moving from Brevard County, Osceola County, Orange County takes several days to arrive. And many folks in Geneva have experienced that, particularly Lake Harney and other areas like the Little Econ, the Little Wekiva, all experiencing this. It is going to be worse than it's ever been before. So if you're making the decision to evacuate, which hundreds of people here in Seminole County have chosen to evacuate, we understand that is a tough decision for you. You're leaving personal property, you're leaving your heirlooms in many regards, you're leaving everything that you've worked hard in your life to establish. If you do that, make sure that you try to be as accommodating to the rescue responders as you possibly can. Like, if you're going to leave, it's much easier for us to get our crews in there during the daylight hours instead of making the decision at 2 a.m. to get our airboats and all of that out there. Again, we will respond at this forward command post. It's operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and members of the Sheriff's Office, the Fire Department, our partners with Emergency Management, and the National Guard are going to be here until this community fully recovers. We'll help in any way we can. We have sandbag distribution sites. We have inmate workers or trustees, inmate workers, helping to fill those sandbags for people who are not able to get it and get access. Again, we will do that until the need no longer exists. I want people to be mindful of various scams. Now, I don't know that we've had any reports that have gone to the price gouging hotline. We always promote that as 866-9-NO-SCAM. That's the Attorney General hotline. But again, here in Seminole County, I have personally not been aware of anybody who is participating in price gouging. As establishments and businesses become open, it is more likely that those reports would come at a later time. In addition to that, I want people to be mindful of contractors that come out. Every time that we have a storm, it's usually a handful of days where they realize that it's going to be local, state, and federal assistance, and they grab themselves a trailer and they try to do unlicensed work on people's homes. So again, I want you to be cautious of who's knocking on your door, and ask for a formal license of anyone that you have doing contractual work on your property. I had the opportunity to give Governor DeSantis an aerial tour yesterday of our most affected areas here in Seminole County, and that aerial tour was over the Altamont Springs, the Wekiva area, Little Wekiva River. We also flew over specific areas of Winter Springs, the flooding in Winter Springs, the flooding in Oviedo with the Little Econ, and then, of course, along the Lake Harney and waterfront. And one of the things that the governor had mentioned is, particularly when we flew over Twin Rivers Golf Course in Oviedo, he said it was the most significantly flooded area that he had seen on his tours. Even more flooding and more standing water than some of the areas of the state that has been directly impacted. But during that visit, he pledged any resources that he or state officials can provide to us here in Seminole County. And I appreciate him coming out and seeing what our local community who is inland are experiencing as the hazards associated with this as well. Again, most of the roads in this area or going to this area are blocked off. If you look at Snow Hill Road is completely blocked off with water. There's areas of 46 that are blocked off. The water will continue to rise for the next several days out here. So again, pre-plan if you have any destination that you need to go to. Lastly, you know, the people that we have working within the Seminole County Sheriff's Office that are deployed with our partners with EMS and the Fire Department and other leaders that are out here live in these communities. You know, our Lieutenant Bobby Smith is there. He lives in this side of area. He's our commanding officer. So again, these are families that have been largely affected by the storm as well, and we should be incredibly grateful for all of the people not only out here that are deployed in these forward operation command posts, but all of Alan's team back at the EOC who's been working nonstop even before the storm ever came. So again, a lot to be proud of, a lot to be grateful for, but we stand with our citizens to help in any way that we possibly can.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any questions? Yes.
You said FEMA was setting up a one-stop shop. Where was that again?
So we are looking at some viable locations. We have a pre-designed list of destinations. Unfortunately, most of those have been flooded or damaged. So now we're back kind of to square one. I mean, we have the plan in place. We know what logistics we need there, but now we're just trying to find the right building. So we're looking at viable locations. We should have that out in about, hopefully about a week, maybe less than that. But again, just trying to find the right locations.
Has Red Cross activated for some of these residents that are having to be evacuated? Are they?
So American Red Cross has actually sent a team in today. and they are getting mobilized right now at the Northland Church with us, and then they will start to move into areas to provide assistance. We've also requested a FEMA disaster assistance team, or a DAT is what we call it, and the DAT will also come into these communities. Now they have a lot of communities to hit, right? So they have, just as the sheriff mentioned, the Little Wekiva, Big Econ, the Winter Springs area, all along the St. Johns River. So they're going to go through those communities as quickly and efficiently as they can and try to provide assistance as necessary. But remember, you can always contact them at 1-800-621-FEMA or FEMA.gov for the FEMA assistance, or the American Red Cross chapter.
And specifically lodging for someone that's been evacuated from their home, are there services available?
Yeah, so that's all being done through the shelter. So we are moving individuals to the shelter, and at the shelter we are doing case management there to identify, do they have insurance? Were they homeless before? Was this a flooding? Was this just a power issue and maybe the power's going to come back on? So they do case management, identify what resources they need, and then fulfill those resources. But that's from various sources. So that could be through the Community Development Block Grant, that could be through the SHIP grant, which is run by our Community Services Department, rental assistance, which is also the county's community service agreement. It could be through FEMA, it could be through the Small Business Administration doing a low interest loan to the individual, or it could be through the American Red Cross, or one of our many faith-based nonprofit organizations. So there's a lot of different partners here that are trying to help individuals, and it's best if we do it in one shop. So right now we're doing it out of the shelter.
Helen, when you talk about how the flooding is slowly going to get worse in some areas, what residents specifically need to be on alert for this? Is it just houses around Lake Harney? And then what are you asking them to do?
Sure.
Telling them to get out?
So no, right now the unique thing about this is we have seen flash flooding. The flash flooding is done. So the flash flooding is not going to occur at this forecast. Anything for the next week, we're not going to see the flash flooding. Now we're going to see the slow rise, and we're starting to see that. And just as the sheriff mentioned, don't wait until 2 a.m. because it is a slow rise. You're going to start to see that water come in the house. Do it during daytime hours so that our first responders don't have to risk their lives, our National Guards folks. We want to do it in a safe manner for you and for them. So right now, sandbagging is the best thing to do. Again, inches now. Could it go up even further? Sure, but try to protect the home with sandbags depending on what your base flood elevation is of your home. And everybody should be able to look at the base flood elevation of their home with their appraisal, if they have their appraisal easily found. So right now, sandbag locations in the communities. So we're putting them in the communities that are now starting to rise so that they only have to go a couple blocks instead of miles and miles down the road. It takes them 2 or 3 minutes to get over here to the Old Geneva Volunteer Fire Station.
And it's primarily people around Lake Harney.
So Lake Harney, Little Econ, Big Econ, this is our next area, but no, it will not just stop here, of course. It moves, the water, of course, just like the Nile, if you will, moves north. So it'll move into Lake Jessup. So those homes that are right around Lake Jessup, they have not crested yet. There is actually not a forecast right now for them to crest. So over the next week, and we predict out, the Southeast River Forecast Center predicts out 1 week. We have not seen the crest yet at the Lake Jessup spot. Once Lake Jessup is done, then it goes into Lake Monroe. So Lake Monroe, of course, would be the city of Sanford and the unincorporated areas of Sanford as well. We have not seen a crest there as well. So that's how the situation will occur, and that's also why we put a sandbag location at Wayside Park. Wayside Park, so it'd be easy for the folks at the St. Johns River Estates, which is just right over the bridge, and then folks that are right along the river there in Sanford, where they could easily come over and get sandbags at that location.
Thank you for clarifying.
You said the slow rise. Can you interpret how many inches we can expect? National Weather Service is kind of saying major to moderate. Can you interpret that in inches so people get a better sense?
Sure. So right now we are at a historic level on Lake Harney. I think when I left the EOC, we were at about 11.6. It's forecasted to be at around 12 to 12.09. At the last forecast, that may have adjusted. The way you can see this real time, everybody can see this real time, is if you type Lake Harney gauge if you have internet and power. Obviously, if it won't work if you don't have that, but Lake Harney gauge, and you can actually see the gauge from the National Weather Service, Southeast River Forecast Center, how they forecasted the model to be. And you will see a crest at Lake Harney, and it will slowly go down. We have not seen, again, that crest at Lake Monroe. You can also type Lake Monroe River gauge, and you can also see that. And those are also on our website, so for easy access, prepareseminole.org, go to that, and you can click and go right to the flood gauge.
I'm sorry, I think you said this already, but is Lake Harney cresting now?
It is not cresting now. It is due to continue. I think it was 2 to 3 days. Don't hold me on that, but again, the gauge will tell you exactly what the days are.
But as far as when you look at other areas going out to Lake Monroe, there really is no yet, like...
There's no forecast for a crest yet at Lake Jessup or Lake Monroe. That means, remember, they forecast out about a week, so they are not even seeing the crest a week from now. Inches slowly moving up, but we don't know what that crest is going to be. So we don't know if that's ever going to get to major or any other level at this point. All we know is the next 5 days. The next 5 days shows it going into moderate at Monroe, but again, we don't know what that is going to become real, you know.
Sorry if I missed it earlier. We talked about this, but Lake Monroe, I mean, it's already up pretty much level with all the way up on that storm wall there. I mean, anything about as far as that area and you know, city Sanford, that area?
Yeah, what we see typically in that area, and based on history, we've mapped exactly where the water goes. So the water will start to go over Seminole Boulevard. The water will start to encroach in the parking lot, not the hospital itself, but the parking lot on the north side of the parking lot of the hospital. We've already been in contact with, I talked to the CEO of the hospital just recently about what he should expect. The CEO had not gone through 2008's flood, but I had experienced it, and I was actually on the ground there, so they know kind of what to plan for. If it continues to rise, we have a game plan with the CEO of Central Florida Regional Hospital for what we're going to do to protect that hospital. That hospital is a valuable resource, a Trauma 2 center here in Seminole County. We're going to make sure that that stays open as best we can. You know, Mother's Nature cooperating with us. Right, exactly.
Has there been any evacuations of assisted living facilities or any type of complexes with more people living?
We've actually taken in more people. So we've taken in hundreds of individuals in our assisted living facilities and nursing homes from Orange County, one of their large facilities. They have a partner or a sister facility here in Seminole County. It is one of our largest nursing homes. We've been in contact with them regularly. So we received those individuals. We've received some individuals from Pinellas County into some of our assisted living facilities and nursing homes. But at this point, I don't know of any nursing home or assisted living that's had to evacuate here in Seminole County, but we do stand ready in the unlikely event that would occur. No assisted living we would of course monitor that if the water rises enough in specific areas, again, like along the St. Johns River. Any other questions? All right, thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you.